Welcome back, guys. Today I'm going to get back into my pallet wood patio set, and I'm going to get into building 2 Adirondack chairs. These Adirondack chairs are going to be just kind of a creation of my own. I've watched several other videos, how-to videos, other guys doing it. Of course, they're using pressure treated wood. They're using clean cut boards from the store, whatnot. I'm using pallet wood. So what I've done is I do have some general guidelines. Like I said, I watched a bunch of people. I'm kind of throwing in a bunch of stuff from everybody, but I have this crude picture just to give me an image in my head so I can keep looking back at it and remember to myself what I'm trying to do. This is going to be a slow progression. I don't have exact measurements on some things, like some of my curvature and stuff. I'm using some things like for the curve behind your knees, I'm just going to use this polyurethane can to get an edge on it. I'm just kind of winging it because that's what I enjoy doing. I just kind of enjoy playing through these things and working them out. I do have some numbers that I got. I'm going mostly off of, just to give reference, another YouTube channel, DIY Nate. I like the way his Adirondack chair turned out, so if you want to watch his, go check that out. So I got some numbers there just to give me some baseline. Like I said, I'm not following his exact video, his exact plans. I don't even remember how his video exactly went, but he did directly give numbers. So for instance, this long leg that I'm talking about, 36 inches long. That gives me an idea. So I'm going to start with that. So I'm going to start cutting that leg. I'm going to do 36 inches, cut it down, and then I'm going to give it some curvature. So here we go. Of course, before starting filming with you guys, I looked at these boards and determined which side was better, like which end of the board was a little bit better or worse off. So that's how I determined. I actually pre-knew which side I was going to cut out, which is the one that's a little rougher, being pallet wood. Sometimes you get some splits, things like that. So I'm getting rid of some of the little bit of the junk, which I think is an important step in using pallet wood. Like, if you have to make cuts, be calculated in those cuts and eliminate some of your bad spots. See, like that one right there, I cut it and that piece was splintered, it split in 2. Alright guys, tinkerer, I like to improvise and work through things. It's not an exact science for me. That's kind of how I enjoy doing it. It's kind of therapeutic. Anyways, so my template here, we'll see how these cut out. I told you I was going to use this paint can, polyurethane can. So I put it like so that the end of it was at the in the middle, touching right there and touching right there at the top. So I tried to keep as much of the board and just basically really get something to give me a curve and trim off. So that's where I have my edges for that one. This one was pretty difficult. As I mentioned, that little metal ring that came from the barrel, this is what it was like naturally. So I started from there and I kind of stuck my elbows out and held it down and tried to extend it, but I wanted to get down to about here. Just because I know about how much of this I want to be a seat and how much to be excess for the leg. So then I made a mark, same, and they kind of crossed over, and then I used the same curvature of it again right there in the middle to conjoin the two. I might be talking gibberish, but my point being is, like, I wanted to keep curvature to it and have a guide for that. Obviously I'm making the cut myself, and once I get one cut, it's a template, and then the others will just go off of it. The last piece, so I thought I had an extreme angle going when I was doing 13.5. I actually decided, I'm like, for knee height and stuff, this coffee table I previously made that I have a video on, I hope you watched that video. I like the height of that. So I put this here, went there and mimicked the angle to cut it down. So I have my template ready to make my cuts on this and go from there. So it's worth remembering that even though I have like some imperfections going on right there, that these are just, it's a place for this stuff to sit. So my boards are still going to be the surface. So don't sweat that too much. If you're doing this for and you're kind of fiddling around like I am and doing this for the first time, don't sweat it too much. Okay guys, so we have 4 of these pieces now. We got the curvature for our seat, we got the front curvature and a little edge there. 4 of these that are all the same size and whatnot. Good to go. So basically that's going to be our long leg, the horizontal at an angle leg. Now we got to cut our front post leg. You only need obviously 2 per, so 4 total of those. We're going with 20.5 inches tall for this leg. And again, that's going off of DIY Nate. That was his dimensions he used for his, that he built on YouTube. So I'll make those cuts, and I'm using 1 board per each. So this board I can do 2 cuts on. Since this is a pallet wood chair, sometimes you get framework that's like this. And I'm going to use this same one and make my 2 cuts so that I'm uniform. So my leg is going to have this little notch on one of my 2 chairs. And that's because I'm using pallet wood. So I've already measured it out, I've notched it, so let's go ahead and make the cuts. Okay, so a few things. I've got my 20.5 inch tall front leg posts. I've got my rear leg posts. Everything's ready. How am I going to keep these uniform? How am I going to know that I've put them at the same spot? I put a notch 16 inches on each of my front leg posts. So that's where the height I want to be at. Now, 16 inches high, got the mark there, so it's going there. Where am I going to put all of these that it's sticking out to the right angle I want it to? Well, I determined I wanted it right about there. And this particular one has a little notch that made it a nice, easy spot to pick. I was just trying to get a little bit of overhang, because obviously you don't want that at the very, very end. I laid these, all 4 of them, the templates, down on the table together, made sure they're right one on top of each other, put a notch across all 4 of them. So my mark is in the same spot. So now I can just like, you know, assembly line, go along, and they're ready to go. I know exactly, just go to the edge. I want that at the highest spot, right there. My height is right. My hand is out of the way. I'm gonna measure exactly how high up this one was. It was actually at 15 3/4 inches. This second one went way easier because I went off of the first. I put a notch right at 15 3/4 inches, right on the edge, which is where I was on that one. And I'm actually okay with that because I felt like it was kind of a little high. And then of course I told you I had my mark across this. So I joined it, held it right there, put at least 1 in, and I was good to go. So I'm going off of the first one, and we're uniform. Same exact process. I've got a notch there, I've got a notch here. To cut 20 inch wide, I believe that's the width I want my seat. So now I need to cut a few planks of just this plain old pallet plank board that I have, and I'd already routed the edges to give it a little bit of a decorative look. So I'm going to do 20 inch wide sheets, and then we'll go from there, and we'll at least get a structure started so we can start building onto it. I changed my mind on the seat size or width. This is an Adirondack chair. These things need to be wide and comfortable. So they're not 20 inches wide now, they're 24 inches wide. So I made cuts on several of these. It's not enough to get me all the way through the seats, but just to get something started to put a structure together. I already had 3 of the sides routed. Now I have a fresh cut. So I'm gonna route the end of this real quick with my plunge router. All right, like I said, that's only a few that won't get me all the way through. As always, unplug my power tools when I'm not using them. So of course, now it's time to finally get one of these begun structurally to come together. That one, I've already used one of these pieces and put it in there for my spacer. Note that I was very careful to get my fingers out of the way. You know how you learn each time you do something. Making 2 of these. Second one, just from a few minutes ago, learning slight things, such as making sure it's level, only putting one staple in. All right, she's level. And of course, I get moving along and I'm out of staples. All right, so I think I'm in a good stopping point for the day. I'm learning a couple things. I'm learning, one, it's always good if I start feeling like I need to start rushing to call it quits, because that's when I get sloppy. All right, guys, so I'm back the next day and I'm ready to get back into it. So the first step I need to take today is I need to get my brace right here on the butt area. So I'm gonna have this, and then of course I'm gonna have the back pieces, and I'm gonna have another brace that connects to the armrest. So I'll have 2 braces to support the back. What I have left, you know, the thicker boards that are the main trusses, I guess you could say, of pallets. I've got a couple of these that are like what you see in a lot of pallets, where you have your forklift spot in there, and then a couple of solid ones. So I'm going to use these. I'm thinking through, this is a part of using pallet wood, is think about the parts you have and what you're using. Down low, basically I'm going to use them down here because it's not as noticeable having this notch as if it's in the middle of the back. So yeah, so pretty simple step here. I am going to just cut these, and I'm leaving myself a 1/2 inch overhang on either side, just for the back support and everything, and just to make sure I have a little structural integrity to hold it up. So there we go. Okay guys, so I'm trying to keep this real and genuine and not phony and fake or lying to you, and you know, using plain old boards, you know, store-bought boards or whatever. I'm trying to use pallets. So sometimes when you're using pallet wood, you're using reclaimed materials like this, you got to improvise. So I cut the base piece for the back support for each one. The second one was this one right here. Cut it, and you know, I mean, it's split because this is reclaimed pallet wood. I don't have anything else long enough. I know you see a board there. I have one more there. Those are going to be the backs of you know, up like where the armrest is to the back. The next piece, the very next piece, I'm going to cut after I finish this part. So I'm using one piece that's not from a pallet on this one, as well as I did the bench, and it's a piece of cedar plank decking that I had left over. I actually didn't even have to cut this. That is the length that this scrap piece was. I'm going to use it exactly like this, and it's going to have a slight overhang, just as I mentioned on that one, has a slight overhang because I just want to have a little additional support if like my back beam goes, you know, goes over just by a little bit. I don't think it will, but that's what I want, so that's how I'm doing it. Next up, I'm using these beams, these 2x that are going to be the back support connected to the armrest. So instead of having to measure and guess anything, I'm just going to put it in line right here with the front posts that the armrests are going to rest on. Slight overhang because I'm going to put this one horizontally, and as the arm rests are sitting out here, I wanted to have a little bit of something to be able to grab onto. At this point, I moved on to prepping the arms. I cut them to 36 inches long, and this arm I routed down the edges to give it a little decorative piece. The other one, as you'll see, I really like the look of it naturally, as from when it was a pallet. As always, such a messy tool. Doesn't help that it's very humid and hot out today. I'm a mess. All right, so Yeah, I had to use some of the plank. I wanted for the armrest. I'm working on the armrest right now. I wanted a wider board, plenty wide armrest for it. This one was just a plain old plank piece of pallet wood, so I used that router to give it a finished edge. This one, I thought about it for a few minutes. These arms here and the wood cut of these from the pallet, like whenever it was, you know, mill cut or however they manufacture them, I kind of like the look of that. Gives it a little bit more of a rustic look. So rather than getting a clean routered edge with a little fancy design, I'm actually going to leave this one, so the arms are going to be just like this on this one. I'm doing that on purpose. All right, use one board to get right at the front. I want it flush right there. That's just what I want. Now I'm going to measure exactly how far out. 5 inches. 5 inches from here to the front post of that. So I'm going to do the same over here, 5 inches. One tiny notch. I want it to be subtle. And at the moment, I'm only putting one nail in these on purpose, because I want to be able to move it back and forth a little bit, get the whole structure put together, go from there. All right, cool. Let's see what we got going on so far. So I'm putting this piece in, I cut it, I made sure we were level. It's gonna help support, like, yes, I'm gonna have the back on here, but it's gonna be nailed to the front of this. I know this is on the front here, but now we have weight underneath this armrest as well. I know it's not all put together right now, so it's wobbling, but basically I'm adding through light pieces of wood some structural integrity, like it's going together for itself. It wasn't in my original plans. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about how I like to fiddle around and just figure things out. So yeah, I'm gonna nail that piece in, and I'm gonna cut one for the other side. And then, so that my back is flush and doesn't have like any weird shape to it, I'm just gonna put a piece right on there to give me the same depth as I put my back on. Hopefully that makes some sense. Okay guys, so here's where we're at. It's finally time to switch over to the brad nailer. Just get these backs on. And I put some boards in there, and it's kind of just eyeball spacing, and I'm like, yep, 5 is the number. And so that gives it a simple design. I'm gonna have the tallest one be the center, and then I just decided to come down 2 inches. I was looking at 4 inches, but I'm like, no, I want a slow, you know, decline. So I'm going 2 inches on each. My tallest one is where I started. So what I did first of all is I put a mark right square in the center, right there. You can see it. These are about 22 inches wide, so it was at 11. And I actually sat down in the chair. I had these placed there, kind of reached up back of my head and touched like the boards because they weren't cut yet. And so the very tallest point, pretty much right at the top of my head, was like 31 inches in the seat. So I'm like, well, that's a good spot. You know, I'm a medium height person, slightly shorter, but it's not like you know, you always have these super tall. You don't want it crazy tall. So I cut 2 of them at 31 inches. That's the center one. And then from there I went down 2 inches, you know, and did 4 of them because I got 2 for each. And then 2 more inches. So we got 31, 29, 27. I'm going to use this little bit. This is my last piece of cedar decking that I have. I'm just going to use that for a spacer. So I'm going to start with the middle one, put it on, just use the spacer, put on the one next to it. And yeah, so pretty simple process. Here we go. Okay. All right, so Adirondack chairs completely made, with the exception of one piece of cedar decking right down there. Every other piece of this was pallet wood though. So now I wouldn't say it was an easy process or I just wham bam threw it together, but pretty happy with it. I'm going to throw some, actually I'm going to put some screws into it because I want it to have a little more strength. A couple spots like the arms need a few more nails as well, and then I'm going to stain it. You guys have seen me stain 100 times, so I'm not going to record that process. I'll show you what they look like when it's all said and done. How do they feel? Well, they're relaxing once you sit down in them. They you really sink into it. Big time sink into it. I don't want to get up, but they feel pretty sturdy. You know, so many little pieces are holding it all together. They're sturdy, but they're still pretty lightweight because it's lightweight materials put together. That's a lot of times I think the hardest when you're just making your own thing. I feel like a lot of times you make it either flimsy or you make it heavy as crap. Okay guys, have a completed product. I did pop some screws into it just to hold it together a little better than it was just nails. I polyurethaned it, and I'm pretty happy. I can sit in it, I can get in and out of it. I'm pretty heavy myself and it holds. So very happy with these pallet wood Adirondack chairs and the pallet wood patio furniture set all together as a complete set. As you know, if you followed this whole series, I think I used 3 or 4 pieces of cedar decking that were just leftover scrap pieces I had. Other than that, these are made of pallet wood. It's not, I didn't cheat and, you know, throw in a few pieces of treated lumber or, you know, a nice clean cut of anything, this or that. I had some spots you see that originality of the pallet wood, like the arms of this chair. So yeah, you know, it's not the prettiest set of furniture out there, but considering the source and that it's a First Life, this sat in a semi truck or whatever and hauled something or other on top of it, I'm happy with these. I like them. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.